Before studying the hair growth cycle, let us try to understand what is a hair follicle. Each individual hair is formed inside a hair bulb deep inside a hair follicle. These follicles are present before the childbirth, and they give rise to many hairs. Each hair follicle gives rise to many hairs. The follicle is a tiny, powerful factory which works throughout life. From a baby's birth to many decades, the follicle continues to produce hairs. Each hair grows for many. Now let us try to understand the different stages of the hair growth cycle. Hair on the scalp grows about zero point 0.3 to 0.4 mm per day, or about 6 inches a year. Unlike other mammals, human hair's growth and shedding is a random and not a seasonal or cyclical event. At any given time, a random number of hairs will be in one of the three stages of growth and shedding: Anagen, Catagen, Telogen, and a last stage, that is exogen. Do you know that hair grows around half an inch a month? The full length of hair has average about 18 to 30 inches. Anagen phase is longer in people of Asian descent and can last up to 7 years. And hairs can grow maximum up to 3 feet long length. So let us try to first understand the anagen phase. All of us are interested into the anagen phase. Why? Because this is the hair growth phase. We want to keep our hair maximum into this phase. The anagen or the growing phase is the first part of the hair growth cycle. Why it is known as cycle? Because first anagen, then catagen, then telogen, then exogen, and then again hair falls into the anagen phase. So it is a cyclical event. So the basic starting point is the anagen growth phase. During the anagen phase, cells of the bulb divide rapidly, resulting in a new hair growth. Again, this is a mitotic activity. During this phase, the hair grows about 1 centimeter every 28 days. Scalp hair stays in this active phase of growth for 2 to 6 years. So this is the only phase which is having such a long span of the time. It ranges from 3 to 5 years, but for the people of the Asian descent, it can be range up to 3 to 7 years. 80 to 90% of the hair follicles are in the anagen phase at any given time point. So almost about 80 to 90% of your hair follicles at any stage, at any time point, lies within this range. The anagen phase lasts somewhere between 2 to 7 years. The length of the anagen phase determines the maximum hair length. For example, people who have very long hairs have a very long anagen phase. Vice versa also, people who have very short hairs may have a short anagen phase. Eyelashes, eyebrows, and body hairs have shorter growth phases than for the hair on your head, which is why they are much shorter than your scalp hair. There are many factors that influences the length of the anagen phase, including genetics, nutrition, age, and overall health. As I've told in my previous video when I discussed you about the structure of the hairs, this is a gene related activity. The quality of the hair length, this is again depends on the genetic background. Once the anagen phase is over, the hairs then move to the catagen phase. Now catagen phase is categorized as a transition phase. Why it is called a transition phase? Because after this the hair growth phase enters another catagen phase. This is again a very short and transitional phase which only lasts 2 to 3 weeks. If you remember, anagen phase is about 2 to 7 years or 3 to 5 years, but this phase is merely of 2 to 3 weeks. During this catagen phase, the hair stops growing and detaches itself from the blood supply. So the blood supply which is being continuously provided, which provides nutrition to the hair during the anagen phase, actually stops here, resulting in a transition phase just before the detachment. The hair becomes what is known as the club hair. The hairs in this stage are referred to as a club. After the catagen phase comes the resting phase, also known as the telogen phase. Why it is known as the resting phase? Because it is following the catagen phase. During the telogen phase, the club hair rests while a new hair begins to grow beneath it. This new hair will eventually take the place of the club hair. So you can see two parallel activities going around. First is the detachment and second is the growth of a new hair simultaneously. The telogen phase lasts for 3 months. Always try to mention the timelines, the conditions whenever you are answering the questions. And about 10 to 15% of all your hairs are present in this phase at any time point. So you can say anagen phase is the longest phase, having around 80 to 85% of the hair, whereas the telogen phase for about 3 months resting phase, it comprises of the hairs between 10 to 15% of all the hairs in this phase at any moment of the. This is the last stage, also known as the shedding phase, because here the complete detachment of the hair takes place. So you can see that it is a very slow movement. If you refer the first stage, anagen phase, growth movement, then the temporary transitional phase, catagen, then your telogen stage, which is the resting stage, and this is the final stage, exogen, where hair shedding takes place. During the exogen phase, the resting club hair detaches and falls out. Every hair eventually sheds, and it's completely normal to lose 50 to 100 hairs each day. So don't worry if you're losing more hairs, because if you are losing within 50 to 100 hairs, this is a normal event. After the exogen phase, the follicle then returns to the anagen phase and the cycle repeats. So now you are aware about all the four stages: anagen, catagen, telogen and exogen. Now, as you can see, it not only depends on the genetic but also depends on the nutritional requirement. That basically determines the quality of the hair. Now, since most of the people, this is the common problem, hair problem, are suffering from the hair problems. Many people are suffering from the hair problems. Now, again, the hair loss, also known as hair thinning, and problems with the hair growth may occur when your growth cycle is disrupted. Now, you are aware about the growth cycle, all the four phases, all the different timelines, composition of the hair. Now, what happens? Problem arises when this cycle is being disturbed. Now, why it is being disrupted? That may be again due to any illness, due to any nutritional deficiency. If the cycle gets disturbed, the anagen phase is reduced. Anagen phase is the growth phase. If anagen phase is reduced, you will suffer from hair loss problem, hair thinning problem, because the required volume of the hair will not be generated. This can be triggered by the conditions such as metabolic imbalances, illnesses or improper nutrition. It has been found that restrictive dieting or a high fever may result in telogen effluvium. What is telogen effluvium? This is the condition where sudden hair fall takes place. Sudden, you notice sudden, that normally 50 to 100 is normal hair fall, but if someone notices that the hair fall is high, that may be due to the disturbance of this growth cycle. That may be due to the restrictive dieting, or maybe due to some other illness, which may result in the imbalance of this growth phase cycle. This occurs when your anagen phase is cut short and many hairs enter the telogen phase at the same time. So if your growth phase is reduced and shedding phase become longer, definitely you're going to lose a lot of hairs. Here you will be suffering from the hair problem. Hair growth cycle is constantly challenged. If your immunity level is down, you are falling ill again and again, then what will happen? And you're not provided with the sufficient nutrition, you are suffering from malnutrition. Hairs will not grow as long as it used to be. So in order to maintain a good growth cycle, you want your most of the hairs to remain into the anagen phase. You should properly feed your body, you should exercise regularly, you should take care of your body, then only the anagen phase will last. This is because here anagen phases, otherwise anagen phase is reduced and it takes long time to reach the desired hair length. You might have noticed sometimes that you take more time to reach the desired hair length in certain period of time, whereby sometimes you notice that the same growth of the hairs in a shorter span of the time. This again depends on your hair growth cycle. This again depends on your how healthy diet you are taking, how much your body, what kind of a nutrition you are taking. Maximize the anagen phase, the recommendations are: get plenty of the sleep, reduce your stress levels, exercise regularly, avoid crash diets, stay hydrated, and eat a healthy diet that includes plenty of food rich in protein, iron, zinc, and vitamin C. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please do watch the earlier video that is on about the structure of the hair, and please do like, share and comment so that further improvements can be taken in place. Thank you so much.